While working out in the cold and empty void of interplanetary space, many choose to forego the luxuries in exchange for brutal and utilitarian efficiency. When every second counts and the stakes are high, that level of efficiency could be the difference between completing a job or not, and potentially under the right circumstances, the difference between life or death. Of all the ships in the verse, none embody that mentality better than the Drake Ironclad. First announced in May 2024 at Drake DefenseCon, the Drake Interplanetary Ironclad has whipped up a great deal of excitement amongst Drake fans, and it's very easy to see why. A truly massive hauler that helps bridge the gap between some of the relatively large cargo ships such as the Crusader C2 through to the extremely large haulers in the Misk Hull series, all whilst managing to provide a secure space for that precious cargo. The Ironclad is described as being a very heavily armoured cargo freighter designed for large-scale hauling operations for both legal and potentially less than legal missions in more sketchy locations. While the base variant of the Ironclad is by no means a combat ship, it is still well armed enough to make any potential would-be pirate think twice before making a move on it. As noted on the Star Citizen website, the Drake Ironclad is a large armoured cargo ship that is designed to safely transport large quantities of valuable cargo. Armed with a wide range of turrets and boasting a thick armoured hull, the Ironclad is perfect for dangerous cargo runs in uncertain space. With all of this in mind, it's really not hard to see why there is so much excitement surrounding the Ironclad and the possibilities it will bring to the verse. Looking at some of the basic specifications of the Ironclad, we see this really is a massive ship with a length of 120 meters, a width of 52 meters, and a height of 20 meters, with much of that space being taken up by the enormous cargo hold. For perspective, this makes the Ironclad 20 meters longer than the upcoming sub-capital ship, the RSI Perseus. As we move on to some of the more interesting features of the ship, we can see why this huge size is important. The cargo hold carries a huge 1,536 SCU capacity. As well as the cargo loading ramp, there is a retracting roof for easily loading in EVA situations. 3 ship-based tractor beams for crew use make a light work of large hauls, and a detachable command pod which we will discuss in more detail a little bit later. Now, while the cargo capacity might not be as high as something like the Hull C, the trade-off of capacity for having your cargo be more secure could be very appealing to many players, especially in less lawful systems like Pyro. What I find most interesting is the retractable roof in the cargo hold. Due to its size and position, it has understandably got many players speculating about what ships could potentially fit in there as a makeshift hangar. Based on the overall height of the Ironclad, I don't anticipate many ships fitting. However, if something such as the Golem or the Vulture can fit in there, that could make the Ironclad incredibly appealing to many. I love the idea of the Ironclad coming along after a ship battle and hoovering up some of the smaller ships through the roof, while a team inside could be salvaging with hand salvage tools for extra profits post-battle. Plus, I find the image of a ship this size essentially eating smaller ships like a giant shark as it floats by very amusing. The Ironclad is definitely no slouch when it comes to defending itself either, being listed as having 1 man turret with twin size 5 guns, another man turret with twin size 3 guns, 2 remote turrets with twin size 3 guns each, and finally 1 more remote turret with twin size 2 set of guns, as well as 4 missile racks with 2 size 5 missiles each. With such a long list of armaments, the Ironclad could easily become a floating fortress for smaller orgs looking for a mothership to stage their operations from. I don't expect it being used heavily within a combat fleet, but it is nice to know the ship will have a better time defending itself compared to many of the other cargo-focused ships out there. With the introduction of PDCs to some larger ships, could the Ironclad potentially be a candidate for them too? Only time will tell, but I think it could be a welcome addition for sure. Taking a look at the internals of the ship, your eye is immediately drawn to that enormous cargo bay in the centre, where it's easy to see just how much cargo will fit in this space based on the 32 SCU boxes pictured. Along each side is a gantry walkway to easily survey the comings and goings on the floor, as well as potentially providing high ground and overwatch for potential raids from would-be pirates. I find this area quite reminiscent of the Constellation series with the two gantries that run along the side. Toward the rear of the cargo hold we see a vehicle parking bay, and there have been mentions of there being repair facilities in this section too. There also appears to be an elevator that leads into the command station overlooking the cargo hold when the roof is retracted. Moving on to the front of the ship, we see a man turret station that will appear to provide very good fields of fire toward the front and above the ship as well. There is another man station which appears to control a tractor beam on the front of the ship, presumably to take in cargo via the front cargo ramp. One of the more interesting parts of this section is what is being called the secure cargo lockup, which is a smaller storage area for more valuable cargo that is harder to get to should the ship be attacked by raiders. It's unclear just how much of the Ironclad's overall capacity this section will hold, but honestly I see this being used very infrequently, much like the rear shielded section of the Constellation Taurus for example. In the upper rear section, you will find the crew habitation area and primary control zones for the Ironclad. In the upper central area is the command center, where if you look quite closely, we can see there are 4 crew stations, 2 of which would presumably control 2 of the Ironclad's tractor beams for moving cargo in and out of the ship through the open roof section. I would imagine the 2 rear crew stations are in control of the remote turrets for ship defense during these operations. With an elevator leading up and down from this section, it gives easy access for the crew to head down for more manual actions that need to be taken in the cargo hold. Along the upper side section is the pilot command pod, which is intended to be detachable from the ship for use in potentially dire circumstances as an escape pod. This is also where the pilot is stationed for control of the ship. Now, CIG have stated that this pod is not intended as a small vessel on its own, but more of an escape method if needed. I honestly hope it is easy to use this as a smaller ship with docking and undocking, as this would make travelling back and forth between stations and the larger ship a much easier time. The Caterpillar is also meant to have this functionality, but has yet to see it happen, so it's unclear if this will be ready for when the Ironclad releases. Let's hope so, fingers crossed. Sadly, there aren't too many images of what we can expect these interior sections to look like, except some very early concept models moving through some of the sections of the ship. What I do know is we can expect a totally no-frills interior with the bare minimum of creature comforts available to the crew. Exposed struts and grates are generally the norm with Drake ships, and many out there love that aesthetic, and I count myself amongst those people too. So what are the potential uses for the Ironclad? One of the most obvious for me is, of course, the standard cargo hauling and commodity trading purposes in lawful systems. I can see this ship being extremely popular amongst pirating groups due to being able to quickly load and unload stolen wares through that roof while in space. Potentially, the Ironclad could be used as a mothership or offloading center for mining and salvaging teams. With a ship this size, I'm sure there's a huge amount of possible uses the player base can come up with. When can we expect to see the Ironclad? Apart from the usual rumours that fly around whenever a big ship event starts to come up, very little seems to be known about this. I've seen several sources saying Invictus Launch Week 2025 will have a surprise announcement of the Ironclad becoming available, but I think the most likely outcome will be IAE if it comes during 2025 at all. Honestly, I would love to be proved wrong and see the Ironclad appear at Invictus Launch Week, and I know I wouldn't be alone in that either. Once the Ironclad appears in the verse, it's sure to change the landscape for large-scale hauling and org operations forever, and I personally can't wait to see what the player base comes up with on how to use this thing. That's it from me. I'd be interested to know your thoughts and theories on the Ironclad. Have you heard anything else about when it releases? What do you plan to use the Ironclad for? Let me know down in the comments below and let's get a conversation going. And as always, if you found yourself enjoying the video, consider subscribing for more Star Citizen content. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.